I'm making pork meatballs in tomato sauce with linguine. This is a real family favourite in my house. It's very easy. I'm going to cook it in different stages. I'm going to start with the meatballs first, and then I'm going to make the tomato sauce, then the linguine, then you've got your dish. So I've got some chopped up spring onions and some ginger and some garlic. Now the ginger does add quite a punch, and so does the chilli, which is going in later. So if you're cooking for kids, my daughter loves it, but some children are a bit scared of spice, so just put a little bit less in. So these three go in, and I chop them all up first. So they're all chopped. Now I'm going to add some pork mince, which is just a little bit different. It's nice to use something different. You know, you're always using, I think, a lot of the time in meatballs, beef or lamb. It's lovely to use the pork. And to this I'm going to add some breadcrumbs, a little pinch of chilli. Go easy on it. An egg yolk, just to bind it together. And some soy sauce. Now, cooking for my family, I want to use the best ingredients, and I use Kikkoman because it's naturally brewed. And I think you can put in a nice spoon and mix all of that up. There we go. Now, just for ease, I'm going to put it into a bowl. And make sure that's all mixed in, beautifully combined. So I'm going to make little tiny meatballs, so you just get a little mouthful. They pop in your mouth, little tiny ones. I think they're much nicer like that. They cook quicker as well. So you're getting literally a tiny little handful. It does take a while, but I promise you it's worth it. You've got little ones like this. Now, a little tip, you can do a couple, and then your hands get covered in meat, and you don't get that lovely round ball. So if you just have a bowl of cold water, and just dip your hands in the cold water, then it stops that from sticking. So they're done. I'm now going to put them into the fridge while I make the sauce. So now I'm going to make the sauce. I've got some star anise here, which really add a depth of flavour to the dish. I've got some garlic, some tomato puree, a little bit of sugar, some tinned tomatoes, some chopped onion, and some soy sauce, which I'm using here purely as a flavour instead of salt. So I'm going to heat the pan, add a little bit of oil, and then soften my onions. Now, you don't want to burn them here. You want them to soften, so keep it on a sort of a medium heat and give them that time. You've got all these beautiful ingredients. What you don't want to do is then burn things. So the softer you cook your onions and the slower you cook them, they really release this beautiful, beautiful flavour. And I think it's one of those steps that people sort of forget. So the onions are nice and softened, so I'm going to add to that the garlic. Cook that off for a few seconds before you add anything else. And then I'm going to make a nice paste, so I'm going to use my tomato puree. And some soy. And it's fantastic. I use it a lot because what it does is just add a real depth of flavour. And to this I'm going to add my star anise. Remember to take it out afterwards, and it is very strong aniseed flavour. And again, if you don't want it too aniseedy, either leave it out or just put one in. And then I'm going to add my tomatoes. And I'm going to cook this down. I'm actually going to swap over my pans. I'm going to cook this down. If it gets too thick, just loosen it with a bit of water. That will take about 15-20 minutes, but the longer you leave it, the better flavour you're going to have. I'm going to swap that over. on a very low heat. Give this a little taste. And it needs just a pinch of sugar. I think sometimes the tomatoes can be really quite acidic, and so you need that little extra bit of sugar just to calm it down. Time for the meatballs. So I've got my pan on a nice medium hot heat. I'm going to add some oil. And the beauty of these meatballs is because they're so tiny, they take really very little time to cook. And what you want to do here really is just colour them. I've got a nice big pan here, and that's the other thing. What you want to do when you're cooking meat, when you're browning any meat, but especially with the meatballs, what you don't want to do is fill the pan so that it's packed, because then what you'll get is the meat steaming but not actually browning, and what you want is that lovely brown colour all over. So these are already, I mean, they take minutes because they're just so tiny, and they're pretty much done because they're also going to cook in the sauce just for about 5–10 minutes more. So my meatballs are done. I'm going to take this sauce off and pour it into my meatballs. And just put a little bit of heat under here, just on a tiny bit, just on a really low simmer. And just cook them for another few minutes while you make your pasta. So there you have it, meatballs and tomato sauce, a real family favourite.